Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Corden. My mission is to make work fun again by building better leaders. This month, we're talking all about the parallels between a coaching culture, which I'm very familiar with. I literally wrote the book on it, and preventing polarization, which I'm trying to write a book on right now. So I'd love your help and your input. Today, specifically, we're going to talk about preventing polarization. Last week, we talked about reuniting and what it takes to reunite. Before, we were talking about some of these parallels and some of the research conclusions that have come between the qualitative interviews and some of the surveys. So let's get started on today's topic. Some of the things that have happened in this polarization process, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel or duplicate something that's already been done. As I mentioned in my podcast a couple of weeks ago, there are several organizations who have done some very quality research in this area about how we have arrived at the state that we're in. We've seen things come across from politics, Me Too, BLM, the police situation, all kinds of stuff. And this week, we're seeing polarization in the Roe V Wade decision. And all of that to say, what has happened is people are really digging in on these issues that are important to them. But one of the commonalities in all this polarity is that they have made the issue more important than the person or the people. And except in very close relationships, based on my interviews, people are not really willing to do the work to overcome that polarization or to reunite from people that they've separated from unless there's a long history of demonstrated value in relationship. And so when it comes to digging in, part of that polarization is people not seeing the other side as human too, as people who have near and dear beliefs to them as well. And so they have made whatever issue it is more important than the person next to them. And one of the things that you will see is that if you watch the footage on the news and things like that, people don't look each other in the eye. They dehumanize one another and they pretend that their offense is greater than the value of another human. So we're seeing a lot of digging in. Now, I'm not saying that the issues that you're facing in your polarization are the same as the rioting and the violence that we've seen, but that's where it starts. And if you look at some of the history, this is how the witch hunts began. And we don't want to go there. By all means, we need to do our own personal inventory about what it is that pushes our buttons and what it is about the glee that we have in pushing other people's buttons. And we all do it. So I'm not saying that we're proud of it. I'm not saying it's appropriate, but we do it. So to prevent this, if you truly believe that your colleagues are more important than the issue at hand, and I'm not saying it has to be one of these monumental issues, it could be like, what color is our logo? What's the primary objective? It really boils down to this simplicity. Where am I trying to go? What will it do for me? What is my vision behind this? And how do I feel notice that they are blocking me? Okay. What's my primary objective and how do I feel they're blocking me? So if you look at the protests that are happening right now, my primary objective is I feel this way about an issue and the other side is blocking me. Okay. But take a step back. Where are we aligned? And it could be that we are passionate about politics. We are passionate about safety. We're passionate about justice. We are passionate about the safety of our families. That we want peace and tranquility, whatever it might be. And there is a lot more alignment. If we drew the Venn diagram of them and us, there's a lot more coverage than we really think there is. And so our attempt here is, how can we keep the peace while not surrendering our opinion? Okay? And people feel like it's a violation of their integrity if they censor themselves or if they capitulate in some capacity. So I'm not asking you to do that. I don't think it's healthy. As we talked about last month when we talked about integrity, integrity is being whole. And that means being who you are. And in the same way that we are celebrating LGBTQ this month and who they are, we have to celebrate who we are. And that means that we have to be whole, all the pieces together and aligned. And we can't afford for things to fracture and break off. That's what causes planes to crash, right? So how can we offer an opinion without it being a mandate for others to believe the same way we do? So let's talk about that some more. So when we look at a coaching culture, we're talking about coming from a position of asking, not telling. So telling is this idea of command and control. Not only do I have to tell you what to do, the vision and the objectives, but I have to tell you how to do it. And it sounds pretty awful, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds like the gulag or something like that. But that's what we are doing when we behave this way about our opinions and beliefs. If we come at telling and attacking and accusing and arguing, last I checked, no one converted. No one chose a religion based on this telling, threatening, etc. Whatever that version of religion might be. So we really want to come from a place of curiosity, and we want to offer our desired outcome. You know, I want safety for all moms. I want safety for all women. I want good health practices. I want ... whatever that might be. What are the habits and behaviors that will support this? Right? So it could be education, could be availability, could be congressional support, could be funding, could be a lot of different things that help support your desired outcome, whatever that might be. This fighting, arguing, yelling, violence doesn't help. Doesn't help. Right? So we look at Martin Luther King, we admire him for not fighting, right? It was a badge of honor when he and his supporters were arrested for their peaceful protest. So think about what's not supporting your desired outcome. You know, is it alienating others? Is it gaining a poor reputation in your workplace for being argumentative? Is it not looking for solutions, but only shooting down other people's ideas about why something won't work? Could be any of those things. But what are the habits and behaviors? So let's take an issue that's a lot more common and a less painful one. Let's say I want to be fit and trim, okay? What are the habits and behaviors that to achieve this? Well, eat less, move more, balance hormones, eat more vegetables, eat more real food. I mean, there's a million playbooks on this, right? But what's not supporting my desired outcome? It could be telling myself I have a cheat day and I'm going to drink a whole bottle of wine when I'm out with my friends and I'm not going to do any exercise that day. So all my good work Monday through Friday has been wiped out with one night of fun. Could be something like that. It could be that you're not getting enough sleep that is supporting that whole metabolism and all of those repair activities in your body. So not only look at what is supporting this whole idea of reuniting and preventing polarization, but what is really getting in the way of that? You know, what are you anchoring to that forces the other side to anchor even harder on their side? Okay, so think about that. This week for fieldwork, it's really, really simple. It does require some temperance. It requires you to be in self-control. So my daughter and I have this running joke that there's all the church buildings or parishes that are named after the fruits of the Holy Spirit, where they talk about, of course I'm forgetting them, peace, love, joy, right? But one of the fruits is self-control, and there's no self-control church. That means we have to take it upon ourselves to do the self-control piece. So, for your field work, exercise that gift of self-control. Ask for help. Say, and tell people, I'm working on my control when it comes to this issue because it is my hot button. Get in the practice of asking, not telling. Be open to exploration. What are the views or standpoints that they have that really are quite valid? You don't agree with them, but they're valid. They're an intelligent argument. They have research to back them up. It makes sense, etc. And concede those points when they're accurate. Take a break when you need to. If you find yourself like filling with steam, exercise that Thomas Jefferson thing, count to 10. When you're really angry, count to 100. Maybe that was George Washington. It was one of the two. Just like when I trained for my very first marathon, I did a marathon with team with training. And it was I ran for a leukemia patient who was the same age as my very young daughter. And they shared the same birthday. That was not planned. But one of the things that they told us was never run more than your plan. Occasionally you will have the day where you're supposed to do the 6-mile run. You feel so good. You think, I'm going to run 10 today. Don't do it. That's overtraining. That's what leads to injury. So even if you feel like you're on a roll, stick to the planned breaks. Okay? Everybody needs a break. Don't tough it out. And then think about in the process, when you're done with this discussion, whatever it might be, what can you be proud of? And it might be admitting you were wrong, saying that you didn't recognize that they had a valid point, that you used a moment of humor to break up some tension, that you shook hands afterwards, whatever it might be. But what can you be proud of and anchor on that? Keep that vision in your mind so you can work towards it. So that's the field work for this week. Again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We really want to prevent polarization before it gets too severe. So if you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. If I can assist your team by facilitating a workshop to prevent this polarization and teach you these coaching skills, please contact me. You can reach me at podcast@shaunacorden.com. In the meantime, stay tuned for next week and take good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shaunacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.